also our colleagues from the other 6 form colleges, specifically economics and chemistry. Welcome to PD Putong. This is our inaugural teacher forum, and I hope you can hear me from the back. So free, is that okay? And because this is a teacher forum, I hope to engage all of you. And I think today's teacher forum is quite important because we're going to look at what learning is. Okay, I think that's one. And the second one is we are concerned, I think, about how to bring about a more successful learning outcome for our students. And this is something that all teachers, in my view, are really interested in addressing. Okay? So my presentation today will take about maybe 20-25 minutes, and that will be followed by a Q&A, and I'll be very happy to take your questions during Q&A. Okay. I want to start off by asking, all right, what is your theory of how you learn, and indeed how your students learn? Okay, let me say that again. What's your theory of how you learn, and indeed how your students learn? And I'm going to put this in context by showing you this first. Let's say this is a boy, yeah? Maybe a boy from a village, and his livelihood depends on fishing. And he depends on fish for his food. Okay, so if this is a boy from a village, let's ask ourselves this question. How do you think this boy learns to catch a fish using a spear? Let's say he doesn't really go to school, right? Informal. How do you think he learns how to catch the fish? Any idea? From experience? From observation? Any more? Chigo?
Yeah, I think it's learning by doing it.
Learning by doing it? Anyone else? Instinct? Okay. Any more from the gentleman?
Curiosity.
Chigo?
Curiosity.
Curiosity. Right. Okay. What do you think he needs to know? What does he need to know to catch the fish? To catch the fish, he wants the fish. Yeah. So what kind of knowledge do you think that does he need, and where will he get knowledge from? Suggestions? YouTube. YouTube, right?
Yeah, well, first of all, he needs a tool to catch the fish.
He needs a tool.
Yeah, but the way to get the tools, how to get the tools.
Oh, what's that?
The tools.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of things that he needs to understand. Yeah, what kind of fish, what kind of water, what kind of tools, when tools.
Right.
So those kind of things.
Okay. Right, you want to say something?
Right.
Needs to know the physics of it all as well.
Okay, remember, if he is a student or if he's a villager, maybe he has no chance to go to a school, for example. Yeah?
We will learn that from experience.
He will learn that from his experience. Okay. How best do you think to catch this fish? Technique? Okay. How best?
Practice. Must be during the day.
During the day?
During breeding season.
Breeding season? Right. So that's the kind of knowledge that perhaps this particular boy would need, isn't it? Now, if he is going to try and catch this fish, do you think he will hit it where he sees the fish? The fish is there, I throw the spear and it hits the fish, correct? Is that correct? I'm not a physics teacher, but I'm going to ask the physics people. Is that correct? Is that correct? Hit it where you see it.
No, it's not.
No, it's not, right? Tell us now.
Because the life in the fish is actually being refracted.
Yeah, okay. All right.
So you need to hit it where it's really at.
Yeah. Right. Okay, and of course the young student here who does not study any physics will not know that, isn't it? If he comes from a village, he will not know that. But he will probably ask his members of family, perhaps his dad, perhaps his uncle, perhaps members of his community, and perhaps he might give it a try. And every time he tries to hit where he sees the fish, he will miss it. And if he doesn't catch a fish, he will go hungry. And therefore, he will have to change his tactic. Am I right? And he will have to adapt, and he will have to change. And the other thing that he might have to consider is, what about, as somebody said, the weather? What if he is sitting on the river bank compared to this? Here he is in the water. On the river bank, the situation will be very different. What if he tries to catch a fish when it's sunny? Or when it rains? Or when it's dark? How will he adapt in such a situation? So maybe you might agree with me that one of the most important things he will learn, I think, is that the actual fish is not where he thinks it's supposed to be. That's a very important piece of knowledge, am I right? Just throwing it where he sees the fish might not get the fish. Most likely he will not get the fish. And very quickly he will learn that. So without any physics, he will know that. So, the point, I think, that what I'm trying to make here is that we act in accordance with what we see or experience. Powerful ways of acting go with powerful ways of seeing. Where you see the fish, the image of the fish, that's not where the fish is. What you perceive and what you see and how you see things, that's how people react, I suppose. They react to the experience of how they see things. So in this particular situation, I'm interested in how we can help students to see things in a more powerful way. Yeah. And I did a small-scale classroom-based project where the focus is on the incidence of the sales tax. Heard of the sales tax before? Do we have a sales tax in Brunei? No, we don't have. At the moment, we do not have any sales tax. But if you go to countries like Malaysia, Australia, and the UK, they have a goods and services tax, even in Singapore. Right? So in Brunei, we don't have a sales tax. So here I am, trying to teach a sales tax that does not exist in Brunei to students who find economics a rather challenging subject. How do we teach this particular topic? How do you get learners to see something in a more powerful way? Just like that young boy in the village. How do you get him to see catching fish in a more powerful way? He will have to consider lots of variables. But one most important or critical variable would be the position of the fish, am I right? That would be critical. Okay. So I had a look at this particular study, and thankfully this study exists. It's in the research literature. So what happens is, this is a little bit of economics here. When you have a sales tax, basically what the government is trying to do is, one, they try to raise revenue for the country, and number two, they try to discourage consumption. Okay, for whatever reason, maybe the good is undesirable. When you have a tax, the producer has to pay the tax. You see, but the thing is, the producer can try and pass on the tax to the consumer. So tax is like a cost to the consumer. The question is, how successful can the producer pass on the tax to the consumer? Okay. Do you think tax is a difficult concept? In your view? Well, we haven't got any tax, so therefore we haven't really experienced it, isn't it? We don't even have income tax, and we don't really know how tough it is. When I lived and worked in Singapore once, I had to fill the income tax form, and it didn't feel nice to fill the income tax form. I can definitely say that. Maybe Brian will also agree with me. Am I right, Brian? Certainly not a very nice experience, especially if you know that the tax rates have gone up. In this particular study, okay, what is important for the learners to learn is how sensitive consumers are and producers are to changes in price. And therefore, in order to learn the tax burden, they would have to consider two particular aspects. The sensitivity of demand and supply to changes in price. Now you can see here, especially then this might be useful for those who are teaching economics. And even if it's not your subject, you could see that, for example, I've got two particular aspects here. One is elasticity of demand, and the other one is elasticity of supply. All right. Now this study, taken from Palm and Martin, so what they did in that particular lesson was to find out the necessary conditions to learn this particular topic. How to bring about learning in the case of the tax burden. How is the tax burden shared? So they found that if teachers were to follow this pattern of variation and invariance. Let me explain that a little bit. You notice the V and the I. The V means that particular aspect varies. I means invariant. Now if you want to see something, you want to learn something, you will see something if you notice a change, whereas everything else remains unchanged. So the thing that changes is the one that you notice. If everything changes at one time, you will not see any change. If you see all the cars in Brunei are all white cars, you will not know the color of red. Am I right? You wouldn't know. So the only way you will find that you can understand color is if you know there are different dimensions of colors. So in this particular study, what they found was the teachers talk about one good, and they use the same example throughout. That's why under the good, it's called invariant. So when the teacher was explaining this, he was using one particular good as an example and kept that the same throughout the explanation. But he varied, that particular teacher or groups of teachers, he varied demand but kept supply constant so that the students could see that actually it's the demand that affected the tax burden. Okay, and that is what the teachers wanted to do. That's why there's a V there. Okay, so take note of this particular pattern of variation. But after reading a little bit of this, I said to myself, why don't I try this in the classroom to see whether it works? And the only way to find out whether something works is if you really try it, am I right? No point reading and not trying it, so what's the point of research? Try this, guys. I gave this to my students. What do you think is your answer? try and rephrase this. So what the government is trying to do is, the government says, we want to tax every carbonated drink, let's say Coca-Cola. Every Coca-Cola is taxed 10 cents, okay, per unit. How much will the price go up? Yes. Your answer is A, thank you. Anyone else?
We have sales tax.
Right, thank you. C? Yes. Edna? C, increased by more than 10 cents. Okay, very interesting. Anyone else wants to try? I will not give you the answer because I want to try whether this thing actually works here. Alright? So, now, when I got the result, okay, and there were 20 students in this class, I found out that nobody got the right answer. So that's a good start, am I right? Nobody out of 20 students got the right answer. So that's pretty useful, right? So you're going to teach something that's really difficult. Don't teach something that people can read from the internet or the textbook. This is worth teaching, am I right? And it somehow confirms the belief that this is a difficult topic, and also comments made by examiners themselves that students get confused very quickly and very easily when it comes to taxation. So think about this. So if students are getting 0% for a question like that, how do you go about teaching this? And I think that's the situation we face ourselves, right? Students don't get the idea. So what's a more powerful way of teaching this? Well, remember Pound and Martin? They suggested a particular pattern of variation, right, just now? They said that in order to understand tax incidence, the students should see elasticity of demand, elasticity of supply, all right? Okay, so I had that plan as well. So what I wanted to do was try this. This was the actual pattern of variation I used in the lesson. Okay. Is that any different? Have a look. So what did I do? Elasticity of demand, I varied. Supply, I keep invariant. Interestingly, my tax rate was kept at the same amount. But Palm and Martin never mentioned that. Right? If you notice, but they kept the good invariant. The good or the commodity was constant throughout. But in this particular lesson, I only realized this after, when I analyzed the data, that I had been keeping the tax invariant. Did this pattern of variation and invariance work? I think that's the next question. Okay. So basically what I did was something like this. I wanted to give them a framework for understanding this. So I'm not going to give you an economics lesson, but simply to highlight this, okay? Simply to highlight this part. And the economics teachers can verify whether I'm talking sense or nonsense, yeah? Jimmy is correct. Alright. So if the tax is 10 cents, as you can see here, alright, from $1 the price has gone up to $1.08. So the consumer is paying more from $1 to $1.08. But the tax is 10 cents. So where did the other 2 cents go? Oops. Where did it go? The tax is 10 cents per unit. Okay? The producer is obliged to pay that. Whether he likes it or not, the government will collect 10 cents from him per unit. Okay? From $1 to $1.08, the consumer is paying it. So there is a remainder, right? How much is the remainder?
2 cents.
2 cents. Who's going to pay for that?
The seller.
$1 to $1.08, that's the consumer. So the remainder will be paid for by the
Seller.
the seller or the producer. So 8 cents out of 10 cents paid by the consumer, right? That's quite a lot, isn't it? 8 cents over 10 cents is 80%. Whereas 20% is paid for by the producer or the seller. I can see Adnan really frowning there. Just like some of my good students, that's what they do. They frown when they see these things, and nothing to be worried about, right? Because it will be interesting to ask students who are frowning, what is it that you see in this? Okay, that's the part I wanted you to see. Banyak juga diagrams really nonsense. Well, the point here is, look at this. Do you notice any difference here? In the diagram on the left, do you notice this? This is the proportion that is paid by the consumer, and this is the seller. Here, consumer, seller, right? The proportion of tax paid by the consumer and the producer is different. And that is really this. It depends on the sensitivity of demand to changes in price. In this case, the sensitivity is much less. Here, the sensitivity is much more. If the sensitivity is much less, what it means is the producer can pass on the tax to the consumer. Yeah, that's what the producer says. Happy, right? Who wants to pay the tax? If it's possible, pass it on to the consumer. Here, on the other hand, this is quite sensitive. Now, if students see this, will they be able to see that, so the tax burden depends on how sensitive the demand is? Would they be able to see this? That's a conjecture, right? What about this one? Here, you notice, this is paid for by the producer. This is a lot more, right? And this is a lot less. So if I'm the producer, under what condition should I pass on the tax to the consumer? Here or here?
When demand is
Here, right? Right. When supply here is elastic. Don't worry, this is a crash course. I don't expect you to get it all correct. Okay. But I did this in 1 hour, guys. This was a 1 hour lesson, and I'm showing you the same slides as I showed the students. I'm more interested in what's the effect of this on student learning. So, the conjecture here is the students should be able to see that the tax burden is influenced by the demand and supply elasticity. Okay, now you try it again. Same question. Did I hear something from Noriana?
Yeah.
What do you say, Noriana?
Answer is B.
Oh, you say it's B now. Just now, you heard AC, right? What's your earlier answer, Noriana?
B.
Your earlier answer was B. Is that true?
That was a wild guess.
That was a wild guess, okay. And that's something we want to think about. How do we know our students are guessing or really understanding this stuff, right? Okay. Anyone else? Yanni?
My question was C.
Yeah.
Now because of peer pressure, he is B.
Okay, interesting. It's peer pressure. Nothing to do with the lesson. Wow. Anyone else? Siti Raini? So, what is it? Right. But now it's a B. Because of peer pressure? Okay. Right. But the students were all doing this individually, independently, yeah? So I gave them this. And what? What do you notice here? So that was the pre-test, right? That's the post-test. What do you think is the answer? The answer is B. In the beginning, now you got the idea. But after they saw that pattern of variation and invariance, 60% saw it. I wasn't really happy with the 60%. Would you be happy with 60%? I think most teachers would be happy, right? From 0 to 60, that's quite powerful. But I think we are ambitious teachers.
Did they understand why? Because I can see it from your graphs.
Yeah.
But I haven't got a clue why.
Okay. Right. Good question, Brian. I'm not sure. Which is why one of the other things I wanted to do was, let me give them 2 more questions. Was this a fluke? Right? Was this a fluke? I gave them the 2 other questions also together with this question. Alright? So let's see whether they were able to answer this. So I gave them something like this. And there will be no pressure on you to answer this. And I gave them this as well. In my view, these two questions would reveal to me whether they understand the idea. That's my view, but of course other people might disagree with me. So I gave them, as I say, 2 additional questions, right? After the lesson, same lesson, we're talking about the 1-hour lesson. So how did they do? So that's question 2 and that's question 3. So should we be happy with this? Even after this, that doesn't mean the students really got the idea? Well, remember, this is multiple choice, right? What if this was a kind of like an open-ended kind of question? That would be much harder. Right? But I didn't have the time to analyze that or do that, so that would be something to look at. So I want to compare here. Right? So this is what Pang and Martin did, as you very well remember just now. So these are the things they did in the classroom, and these are the things that I did. For your information, in this particular study, 70% of the students got it. In this particular study, for the first question, 60%. Second question, 95%. Third question, 70%. Look at the difference. Look at this. Right. This appears to be the same as this, am I right? But not this one. Why is it that I didn't have this? This was in my original lesson plan. I could not do it because I ran out of time, and I gave it as some kind of homework for the kids, which they did the next day. But remember, the post-test was right after the lesson. So we didn't do this. So my question now is, do I really need to do this? That would be something to consider. When I look at CIE, how would CIE go about trying to teach this? And you might be aware that CIE now produces a scheme of work, I think starting from 2016, yeah? Okay, so you might want to check this out. So I analyzed what Cambridge suggests. And they say something like this. And if you have been following, what CIE is saying is, if you look at this, they are saying, just vary the demand, but don't change the supply. Only vary the demand, but don't change the supply. Only one pattern of variation here. This is what CIE is telling teachers. Powerful enough? James is shaking his head. Why not, James?
Because that you need more reference to see the real picture. This one side is not good.
Right. So maybe this is like that boy, right, in the shallow water trying to catch a fish. He's not getting all those aspects together. If you want to catch a fish, you will have to understand all those aspects that affect your catching of the fish. Similar idea here. These are my questions. Would the simultaneous variation be necessary? If I were to use the pattern of variation and invariance, what I call POVI, right, would that help learners to discern what I want to teach? It doesn't seem like it, but I would like to be proven wrong. Okay, so if any of you were to try this, maybe the economics teachers will see. The feedback form that you have with you, or if you are interested in the slides and you want to learn more, I could send them to you by email. If you want to, again, no pressure, no peer pressure. If you think this is useful for you, my email address is also there. And if you want to discuss this further, feel free to do so. So I think I should end here, I think. Am I right? Okay, so thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you so much once again, Dr. Vincent. The feedback forms are the one distributed. Can you all please kindly fill them and return them to the MC or registration table in front.
going to talk about my experience of being assessed to become a Cambridge examiner. And I thought it would be a sharing session so that everyone knows about the opportunities available to the teachers who are teaching the Cambridge curriculum. So without further ado, I have outlined three important points here, which I thought is quite important things to consider when you think about why would you bother doing this. You know, I have so much work already. Why would I bother? I suppose one of the questions you could ask yourself is why not? Why not I do something further in order to improve myself professionally, and also in order to improve my students' learning experience as well. Maybe I could get something out of it. Maybe I wouldn't. I wouldn't know unless I try. So first of all, there's the main core of our industry is the students, is to enhance our teaching, and also I think it will be a valuable experience in the long run as well. And I mean, we only have the June exam session and the November exam session, so it's quite a flexible role as a examiner. And it's a good thing because nowadays they do accept applications from outside the UK as well. So being an international, being a non-British citizen, you can also apply to become an examiner because I have a feeling they do need a lot of examiners since I've read up on Ofsted inspectors report, and a lot of the British teachers teaching in the UK, they're not very happy with the inspectors, they're quitting teaching, which is probably why they are a bit low on the number of examiners they have in their books. So why not make full use of the opportunities? You never know. So this is a website you can go to. It's just CIE. Any of us, we could apply to be examiner. As for whether we pass the assessment or not, we don't know unless you go on and try. And you would at least be entitled to the opportunity to be assessed. And then you can see how it works. Could be something new. These are just some of the things that they will require from you. So they require you to have a degree qualifications in the subject, in the relevant subjects. As I said, there are 2 marking windows. And you can mark anywhere. You can mark in Brunei. I mark here when I was being assessed. I don't have to travel all the way to the UK nowadays because I'll show you later. It's all about on-screen marking nowadays. You can mark on your iPad, on your computer, on your tablets. On the phone, it's probably slightly harder unless you have a big iPhone 6S. I don't have an iPhone, so yeah. Okay, so just a little bit about the application form. These are some of the things that might ask you to fill in. Obviously your name, your details, your teaching qualifications, or how many years you've been teaching the curriculum, the CIE curriculum. And they did say details of your examiner experience, if any. So if you don't have any, you just don't say, you just say you don't have it. Doesn't disadvantage you at all. And of course, you could strengthen your applications by asking someone to write a reference for you in terms of how well you can complete your task on time, because these people, they need punctuality. They work on a strict deadline. I asked Brian to be my referee, and he was very happy to do that, and I thank him for that. So yeah, this is a video really. Some of you might know what happened when the exam scripts leave our school. What happens when we seal them up in very nice hotels? Do they just get FedEx to other country and we don't know what happened to it? This is just a short video clip on what happens to it. This is available online. I got this from YouTube.
This short video will give you an overview of the scanning process adopted by RM's chosen scanning partners.
This looks like. Why will we send that?
This information is then uploaded into Scorer's Assessor, RM's e-marking solution, so that they can be monitored throughout the scanning process. After packet arrival, scripts are sorted and prioritised, so that the scanning profile meets the requirements of the awarding body. For example, to ensure that a steady supply of scripts is available in demand for all subjects. During the script preparation stage,
know those things on the side, do not write on this side? There's the part where they will cut it. So it's not that they don't want to mark it, they cut it. And yeah, I mean, if you notice just now, the cross one of the envelope, there are the 3 signatures. If you have invigilated before, you will notice those are the standard procedures. This is a scanner. Look at how fast it scans. Double-sided. And that is why Cambridge exams are quite expensive.
Scanning. Control checks take place to ensure that certain answers are included. This can be a check to see that all pages from an answer have been scanned, for example. At this point, the scanned scripts are available in Score's assessment. Any data capture indexing processes can now commence. Back at the scanning supplier.
Physical copy is being kept somewhere, of course. You never know. Alright, that's what happened when answers scripts leave our school. So, I mean, the most important thing about my presentation today is to talk about what happens after that. What about the marking system? So this is how it would look like when you start to be assessed. This was what I recorded last time. So you'll be given access where you can log in with the password and the temporary password that they provide you. And then you're supposed to undergo through an assessment where you mark practice papers. So you will need to get the paper. This is all online system. So after they scan it, this is where you get the paper. This is how it would look like as well if you undergo the assessment. You can get the paper, and I downloaded the paper. It's an empty paper, of course. Doesn't matter if it's not O-level chemistry, it could be GCSE, IGCSE. And there's the marking schemes. What's important to note to yourself is marking scheme is not to be used on its own. You have to use it together with examiner report because it's what the examiners discuss based on the variety of responses available, given by the students in that particular session. Of course, these are just some of the things you need to raise up when you mark the paper. So I think the video will speak for itself later on. You can see that you can leave remarks later on the script. So just some of the instructions for the examiners. So before I actually start to mark one paper, I'm supposed to understand all the instructions. What to penalize, what not to penalize. Like grammar is not really penalized, except in English. So this is how it will look like. So when being scanned, so you can choose the full paper view, which looks like this. This is the full page. There's a reason for me to do this actually when I video this. So when I click on this part of a question, it doesn't show that particular part. You'll see later on when I go to structured view. I'm sure it's not very clear, but just now was a full page, right? There's a button there where you can press, and then you can click on the individual sections, and then it will show up only that particular individual sections. So there's a choice of that. The system is really, really wonderful. So you can put a tick on it, and you see all these stars on the side. This is what would indicate whether the marks you have given, is it the same as what the chief examiner would have given based on the marking scheme. Meaning to say, have you marked to a standard, or are you just randomly marking the paper? This is a practice paper, that's why you can see whether it's a star or a red star, which means not good. This is not standardization, this is the actual practice. If I just pause this for a while, this is the actual practice. You have the choice to put a tick or a cross. You can choose not to, it's up to you, provided you can mark the paper correctly. There is empty slots there, you can choose the marks to give. If this is out of 2, you can choose 2, 1, or NR meaning empty, no response. These individual questions, so you can click on individual parts and it will bring you to the individual part on the screen. And it will total the marks on its own, so you don't have to worry about calculation error. unlike if it's done manually. There's that small chance. You do have the choice to review the whole paper again after you finish marking before you submit it, just to make sure that there's no mistake whatsoever. This is part of the assessment. This is the standardized assessment where you don't get to see what marks they give. Where you're supposed to just mark and they will decide. Oh, I suppose that was it. Yeah, where you just mark and then your total marks shouldn't differ too much from what the chief examiner has given. Because you guys are marking from the same marking scheme, right? If the marks differ by 1 or 2, acceptable. If the marks differ by 10, something is wrong there. So this is one of the important about standardized marking, and I suppose you all should know that Cambridge does adopt standardized marking as well. So yeah, after assessment, what could you expect? Well, you can expect an email from them, whether you're successful or not. So I'm able to be here to share this opportunity because I thought that everyone should know that the opportunity is available to them, since we are all teaching the British curriculum. This might be slightly different to the Sharia and Bahasa Melayu and Usuluddin, who mark the papers locally because the papers are based in Brunei. These are for the papers which are marked in the UK, where it needs to be scanned. Alright. So yeah, I mean, I didn't get any appointment for this session, so I'm quite free. But you just never know. It's not supposed to interfere with the current job anyway. Yeah, that's it really. That's it on my talk. Just a brief info for those who are interested. There's an upcoming conference next year by ITB. It's on communicative learning environment. I attended one last year, so I thought maybe people would be interested in this. There's a variety of domains there. There's a variety of domains there for you to write about your teaching and learning in classroom, or to report on something you're interested in. And you can send an abstract to them. There's no website there, but you can just type Google PCBET ITB 2016. You never know. They're always looking for local participants. And it's considered cheap for a local conference, where you don't need to pay the flight, where you don't need to take leave without pay, for example. Yeah. Yeah, that's it from me. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chiku and Cheesheng. We would like to open the floor for question and answer session.
The fee that CIE pays us at examiner?
Yes.
I don't know, I've never been paid. Right? Maybe you can shed some light on that.
No, I couldn't.
Oh, you couldn't?
I used to do it years ago, and years ago it was reasonable. For you, Charles, it pays your holiday.
Yes. I think I read a forum somewhere where if you mark for one session for AQA or Edexcel or CIE or whatever, it's enough to pay for a 2 week trip to the US. From the UK. It's not a lot for you, but yeah. Why not, right? Yeah. Any more questions? Yes?
Sorry, basically, it's not, is it CIE, or you can choose to mark CIE papers, or you can choose other examination boards?
Well, CIE also governs OCR, and GCSE is not the... no, AQA is a different body, Edexcel is a different body. AQA, Edexcel, OCR and CIE are under the same parent company, I would think so. So you could be asked to mark OCR paper or CIE papers. I don't think you have a choice. I think when I sign up for this, you only have a choice of say, can you mark chemistry paper, biology paper? You can only select your area of expertise.
So you get to choose if you want to mark, or they say, please mark this. Or, I don't get
I have no idea. I've never undergone one full actual marking sessions, but I've just undergone the assessment sessions. Do I want to refer this to Brian again?
What's the question?
No, I was wondering.
She was asking whether she could choose to mark OCR paper or CIE paper.
If that's available, I don't see why not. But why would you want to choose OCM?
No. I mean, like, I don't understand how it works. I mean, like, do you log in? Do they email you? Please check your email. You're supposed to mark this stack of papers, or is that a silly question?
As far as I know, when you look at the video just now, it's like a computerized system. There's inbox. You can send a note to the chief examiner. You can highlight a particular paper which you are not sure of the answer, whether you want to give that person full credit or not. You can put a sticky note on it, and then the chief examiner will see, oh, there's a sticky note. I'll click on it. It's like how the WhatsApp messages is working right now. You can start a message, and you can click on the start message, and it will bring you directly to that page. Yes.
Do we need a referee to be?
Well, I mean, according to the website, the application website, it just said provide a referee if you think it will strengthen your application. But I did provide a referee. I'm not sure whether it must require a referee or not. You can give it a try and see whether you get processed or not. But in any case, I would think a referee will definitely strengthen your application further. It allows an external view of your competency in meeting deadlines, for example, among others.
You don't have to pay a registration?
No, it's free. It's free. Even the assessment is free. Yes, Fleur? Yes.
But are all papers marked in this way? This is across the board, all subjects, except for was it only for science subjects?
I'm not sure, but what I think is they will definitely scan every paper this way nowadays in order to cut transport costs. Because let's say the papers arrive at Heathrow and then it might go missing along the way. Why not we just all store at one warehouse where it's physically safe and cut down the transport costs and cut down the manpower costs and yeah, we can even distribute it to any markers around the UK or around the world. I would think so. Does that answer your question? All right. Yes.
Do you mark composition like that online?
I would think so. You know how marking scheme works, right? There are certain marks allocated for certain criteria. So where you see those marks just now, it could easily work for whatever criteria they want you to mark. So let's say it's out of 4 for quality of language, and then you can read the whole scan page, and then you assess it. Do you think the quality of language is good enough to deem a 3, a 2, a 4, and you can put a number there. I would imagine that's how it works, but I've never marked a social science or essay-based subject before, where it's less straightforward, but I would imagine it works the same way. Yes, Chiguyan.
Just now you mentioned that you don't use the mark scheme alone, you use it with the examiner's report.
Okay. I don't use it together with the examiner report. We use it together with the examiner report in classroom teaching because we have it available. Examiner report is not available until after the examination series. So what happens is a mark scheme is provided for every examination series, and they will do a randomized marking of a few papers so as to see the variety of answers there are and to raise up any issues, any acceptable answers from other candidates which are not provided by the marking schemes. And those examiner discussions, the outcomes of those examiners discussions, I suppose, will be added or as a supplementary information to the marking scheme provided to the examiners, so that everyone will be marking according to the revised standard.
What criteria do they use before they decide that you are fit to be an examiner?
I think consistency and how close you are to the marks that the chief examiner give. Because if you are 1 mark off, perhaps it's not too far off. But it also depends on what question have you given 1 mark off. Is it the same questions, or is it a tricky situation, or is it one of those which is very clear cut? Is it a PT marks? But there's no such thing as PT mark marking. You're not supposed to be emotionally attached. It's just a paper that you mark. That's it. We are not giving comments in exams, right? Unlike in school assessment. But of course, knowing how it works, we can teach our students to be more direct, to make life easy for examiners. They see what they want to see. They are not going to mark 1 script. They're going to mark thousands of scripts, or maybe hundreds. Yes?
How many papers
I would imagine hundreds. However, like I said to the other teachers, I've not marked for a full session yet, for a full exam session yet, but they give 2 practice marking where you get to see what marks the chief examiner give, whether you get a green star or a red star. Your mark must come to be consistent with the chief examiner. And then you get 3 standardized ones where you don't get to see what marks have been allocated. And that is what they will judge you based on that. But on the full exam session, I suppose it will be hundreds in one bundle. Any more questions? Yes?
Which level are you marking? Just the A level?
Okay, sorry, I didn't mention that. Yeah, you do have a choice of the subjects, and you do have a choice of the levels that you wish to mark. So I'm teaching in A levels, I'm confident marking for O-level chemistry as well, so I did put down O-level and A-level. But yeah, if there are no further questions, I'll close this session. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Cheesheng. Very interesting.